Hey everyone. So thank you again for joining me on this special live edition, the Black Friday Live. If you got my email this morning, I said I was going live and said I was going to go on at 12, but had some technical difficulties. All is well right now. And so I don't know, I'll give a little time if you're going to, to see who joins me live. Maybe you're out shopping and just hanging out. That's totally fine. You can just catch this on the replay. I just want to come on and quickly talk a little bit about how to not go into the red with your shopping and budget and just finances. And not just today, not just on Black Friday, on a day that is really set up for you to spend money, but just every day. So every day throughout your finances, what can you do to not go into the red? And if you saw my email this morning in the newsletter, I am not saying that you should not shop. Actually, I'm a big fan of deals. And so if you're going to get a good deal today, by all means, go out and get that good deal. The biggest thing is making sure you are planning, that you go out shopping with a plan. So it's one thing to have a plan in place and to know exactly what you're going to buy. And so you're just buying the things you need versus not having a plan and then looking at every shiny object in Target or Best Buy or wherever you want to go, and you picking this, and by the end of it all, at the end of the day, you're in the red. You spent way more than you thought you would. Because the point of Black Friday is for you to spend money. These advertisers and companies, they're very smart, and they have people in place who research psychology and how to get customers to buy things and where to place things and the right advertising. So again, just be prepared with a plan. There's nothing wrong with shopping today. And that leads me into just being prepared with the plan in general. So for your finances, for your life, being prepared with the plan, because once you have a plan in place, it's harder for you to veer off track, especially when you know what you're working towards, when you have your goals set. So in the last live, yesterday's live, I talked a little bit about setting your goals and understanding what you were working towards and then creating a plan to get there. And part of that is through a budget. Now, there are many ways to structure a budget. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some different budget types and then how you can then use a budget to make sure you're not going to go into the red or into being overdrafted or overspent, not only around the holidays, but overall. And so there's a thought process that there's some people who follow like an anti-budget. So an anti-budget is where you basically you're not really tracking everything. You're just paying your necessary bills and or bills and expenses and then everything else it's kind of just out there. And so maybe it's by percentage. So you might say, okay, of my income, 80% goes to bills and then 20% goes to whatever else. And when you do the math, as long as you're paying your bills, you pay whatever else and however else you want. It's an anti-budget. You don't track things closely. And it's not that I'm not a fan of the anti-budget, not having a budget, because honestly, most people do need a budget, but there are some people who are so well conditioned who don't like that kind of structure, who have their finances in order, where they've been tracking things for a long time, where they don't need to be as structured. And so that's totally fine. But what needs to happen though is that you need to be comfortable with that. So before you get to that stage where there's an anti-budget, you do need to understand your money and where it's going. And so a lot of people, because they're in the beginning stages of the journey and they want to understand where their money is going, you just need a budget. And so what I like to talk about and what I'll be teaching in the budget bootcamp class is called the zero-based budget. This is where you are giving every dollar in your budget a job. So you are going to get specific and get into detailed categories about what you want to spend your money on. So for example, there's the obvious rent or mortgage if you have a rent or mortgage. Most of us do because we live somewhere, right? And so that is a budget line item, right? But then there are different budget line items that you would add into your budget to make sure you're hitting everything. And what happens a lot of times is what people tend to miss with a budget when they try to start without totally understanding exactly how to create one is they skip over categories. And so they say, all right, I have a line item for rent and mortgage, and I have a line item for my car note, and then I'll just have a line item for groceries, and then maybe just my cable. So they just do all their bills. But then things occur throughout the month that they did not account for, they did not plan for, where they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I would need to like put away for this or think about this. And so that's where like a zero-based budget comes in, because you get very, very detailed about the categories in which you are spending. So for example, with a zero-based budget, you are categorizing out things such as groceries, of course, but then blow money. So that's very important. So people miss out on this. So in order for a budget to not feel limiting, I like to add in something called blow money, something where you feel comfortable to spend on whatever it is that you want to spend and you not feel guilty about it. So in an example, you can set blow money in your budget for, let's say, $50. And that is really to go towards anything you want it to go towards. In the same regards, let's say if you're a woman and you like getting your nails done, and getting your nails done costs maybe $25 to $30 a month, let's just say, right? Then you make sure that you budget, there's a line item for nails. Or if you want to put that into your blow money budget, some people do that, they make sure it's included. So you're really looking at everything you're spending, and you're making sure you're accounting for it in your budget. Another thing that people miss out on a budget are called sinking funds. So we will definitely be going more into this in the budget bootcamp class. And I'm telling you, sinking funds is one of those things where if you don't get it right, if you don't understand it, it blows your whole budget up. So what is a sinking fund / rainy day fund? It's something where you put in your budget and you don't expect to pay this expense every month. It may be your car insurance, right? So some people pay car insurance on a monthly basis, but as you know, if you pay 6 months or a year in full, you get a discount. So I always love paying in full. But some things are like car insurance. Some things are Christmas. So even a Christmas shopping can be a sinking fund, because it's not that you're going Christmas shopping every month of the year, but you budget, or that you're going to spend, let's say, $800 on Christmas gifts for your family and for other people. So you would budget that $800 in your budget, but then divide it by 12. So every month you're putting away towards this Christmas budget fund. Another example would be, so for example, in my budget, we even do gifts for others, because that's another thing that happens, right? How many of us get invited to baby showers, have our godkids' birthdays coming up, or just, our friends that we want to, give things to, right? And so we have all these like gifts, or our parents' birthdays. So we have a line item in our budget called gift to others. And it's a sinking fund, because every month is not a month that we're giving a gift, but we want to make sure that when there's a time to give a gift, there's already money that we know is allocated to giving a gift. So that way, when that month comes up, it's not like we're scrambling like, oh my gosh, I did not account for giving a gift this month. We already have that in the budget. So those are just some ideas of what and how you can use a sinking fund in your budget, and how being detailed helps you stay ahead of your finances. And that's part of the budgeting system I'll talk about more in the budget bootcamp. But I wanted to talk about it here, because I think it's pretty important to recognize. So even on a day here's another example. So clothing. In our budget, we have a clothing sinking fund budget, because we don't go shopping every month for clothes. But what happens is a lot of people in their budget don't put in shopping for clothes, or especially if you have kids and they're growing and you have to replace their clothes, you want to make sure you are accounting for those items. So for example, for us, we do, I think in our budget, it's about $75 a month, which is pretty low, but it works for us. And that's every month, because we're not shopping for clothes every month. And so $75 goes into our sinking fund clothing budget. Every month that we don't use that money, it just rolls over to the next month. So in effect, when I look at my budget, I can see that I have, let's just say, $800 for clothing, because that's what it's accumulated to. So now when I go shopping, or, whether it's Black Friday, or whether it's for the kids, or we are just randomly in a store, I can look at my budget and see that I have X amount of dollars to spend, because I've saved up in this rolling budget called a sinking fund to be saved up for it. So those are just some of the ways in which you can really be more detailed with your budget. And it's the zero-based budget. You're giving every dollar that you bring in a job. You're making it work for you. And it's important to stay ahead of these expenses, because then you won't get into the black. You won't be overwhelmed. You won't be caught off guard because you literally are accounting for all of the things that can come up. And I just want to mention that you can't, let's be realistic, there are some things that come up that you just really can't account for, right? Or that you can't predict, and that's okay. We'll talk about how to, account and plan for that in the budget boot camp. But, those things happen, but they can be, for the most part, a lot of things can be forecasted. Another example, I just give one more example and then I'm going to get off and have you guys can enjoy your Black Friday. Another example is our car repairs, right? So how many of us have cars? So I have a car, my husband has a car, and we don't need to do things for the car every month for maintenance, but we recommend, or the recommended standard is $75 per car per month you put away into a car maintenance fund. And so what that means is that when the time comes when you need new tires or you need an oil change, you have money saved up because you've been saving up every month to do that. And you're not scrambling to get that done. So again, because who can predict when the tire blows out, or who can predict when something goes wrong with their car, right? Those are unexpected expenses. But what you want to do is make sure you are accounting for as best you can for these expenses in your budget so you're not caught off guard. And yes, it will take a little time to build up these sinking funds and to get comfortable with the budget. But as you can imagine, once you are prepared, that's why I say a budget is freeing. It's not limited, because it's not that, you feel confident, because for me, when I go to get my car repaired, as long as they don't tell me I need a new car, I feel pretty confident walking into, the car repair shop, because I know that I have dedicated money set aside where I won't feel bad about pulling from it to pay for a car repair. So that's what I wanted to talk to you today about. I wanted to talk about how you can really prepare your finances to not go into the black, not go into the red, not just today on Black Friday, but every day. And it's budgeting. And if you want to learn more about this budget, the zero-based budget, and what I talked about, sinking funds, I'm going to be teaching all of that and more in the budget bootcamp class. The registration closes soon. It closes on Monday, and I'm limiting the seats because I want it to be a small first round class. So if you're interested, I suggest you get your ticket now and you join me. And if you can't join live, you can always watch the replay. And so I recommend you just jump on it now, because if it's something you've been thinking about, if this is all of interest to you and you feel like you've been going into the red a lot and you're not prepared, then I can help you get prepared with the budget. So I will speak to you guys. And if you have any questions, if you're watching this on the replay, I'm sorry, I can't see, my computer froze. So I can't see if you guys have questions. And so if you do have questions, just drop them. If you're watching this on the replay, drop them and in the comments. I'll come back and I'll answer them. And I will come back on tomorrow, sometime between 12 and 12:30. We'll see. But I'll come back on and do another live session, just talking a little bit about something else doing with what you can do to create a great budget. So have a great rest of your day, everyone.